All right, top 20 games of the decade. So I'm pretty excited for this video. I liked a lot of the games in this decade. It was a fun decade overall. First of all, I want to go over a bunch of honorable mentions. So Ocarina of Time 3D, it's a remake. I decided not to go with remakes on this list, so that's why it's an honorable mention. I I liked it a lot. It was my first time playing any type of Zelda game. I hadn't played any Zelda game before, and it might be my second favorite Zelda game. And I've played the original later on, and it's honestly still just as good. But the 3D remake was pretty great because it felt really modern, and I really appreciated that. Then pretty much the same story about Link's Awakening HD. It's an HD remake, It's an in-depth remake for sure, but still, it's pretty much the same game. Um, I liked Link's Awakening a lot, and I think the remake improves upon it a lot, which is why it's an honorable mention. Then A Link Between Worlds. I I don't know. It sort of feels like a remake to A Link to the Past. Like, I guess I kind of prefer Link to the Past because it's an old game, and A Link Between Worlds pretty much feels like A Link to the Past, and it's very similar. And so I don't really feel like it should be on this list, but it's worth mentioning. It's a great game. Then Axiom Verge, I was kind of considering putting it around number 20. Maybe I should. Right now I have Shovel Knight at 20, and yeah, I think I prefer Shovel Knight. I guess let's just get into that. Shovel Knight, it kind of introduced me to indie games. Like, the charm and personality it has, I don't really see that from AAA developers. And I think the music was great, and it just has great gameplay. It's challenging without it being like annoying or anything, and that's great about it. And yeah, at the same time, Axiom Verge, it's just a great Metroidvania game. It feels like it's a Metroid game. What I like about it is that it kind of nails the feeling of Metroid 1 and 2. Like, let's say they would make Metroid 1 or 2 now instead of remaking them like they did before. But like, they made them now with like the intention they had back then, with it being like really creepy and eerie and really weird shit and just weird enemies and areas and music. That's pretty much what Axiom Verge is, and I like that a lot. It's like very similar to Metroid 1 and 2, but like much better. And I think that way it's a unique game on its own, but at the same time it's still very much in the Metroid genre or the Metroidvania genre. It really feels like a Metroid game, but it's still very unique. And yeah, that's why I guess Axiom Verge and Shovel Knight may be tied for number 20. And I think the regular campaign for Shovel Knight I probably prefer over Axiom Verge. But I don't really like the other quests. I think that's it as well. I don't really like the gameplay of the other adventures. Then another honorable mention, Redout. It's a futuristic racing game that I like a lot, but I haven't played enough of it. I bought it this year, even though it has been out since like 2018. I still just need to play more of it, but I'm loving what I've played so far. It could have been on the list maybe. Then the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the new one, I like. So I like the Modern Warfare Call of Duties. Like, I don't really like the other Call of Duties. So when they made another Modern Warfare, I was really excited about it, and I'm really liking what I'm playing. But it's very late in the decade, so I don't really know about it. I'm not really that sure. So Pokemon Sword and Shield is pretty much the same thing. It's a great Pokemon game. I'm kind of considering it being my favorite Pokemon game ever, but I'm really just not sure because it's just so recent. And then the NBA 2K games, they meant a lot to me in the decade. I started playing with NBA 2K12 back in 2011 or 12, and I play NBA 2K every year. I've owned every 2K since 2012, and I just don't know which one to put on the list. They're all just very similar games. I guess 2K12 just because that's the one I started with. But at the same time, 2K13 improved a lot, which they still use now, and then 2K14 got the new engine, which 2K15 modernized, and it's tough. They're all great, and so those are all the honorable mentions. So like I said, Shovel Knight at 20, maybe Axiom Verge, but at 19, I have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and I probably, even though like I said before that the new Modern Warfare is pretty new and recent, and that maybe causes me to be very biased about it, but I still prefer Modern Warfare 3. Like the time I spent with it, I played it for hundreds of hours, and I felt that it was so much better than Modern Warfare 2. And I really like the gameplay and the weapons and the maps, and it's, for the time at least, it was a much better game than the new Modern Warfare, and it still holds up. Honestly, I still play it sometimes, and it's still pretty fun. So then at 18, I have Celeste, and I honestly think that maybe it should be higher, but I kind of feel like I haven't appreciated it enough because I played all the regular levels, which isn't a lot. It's like 8 levels or something, which are really long. Like if you play the levels for the first time, there's a good chance you're stuck on a level for like an hour. But anyway, I haven't gotten all the collectibles, which gives you like more levels, hard levels, and I feel like I missed out on a lot of the game, which is my own fault. But at the same time, I don't really care, I guess. Like I like the story around it a lot, and I like the regular levels, and I feel like it's pretty weird that there are hidden levels locked behind collectibles, and I thought at first that there weren't lock levels, and I was really happy about it. But when I realized that there were lock levels, I started to dislike the game a lot more, and it's still really impactful, and it's amazing. I still listen to the music a lot. It has impacted me a lot more than Shovel Knight, which is also an indie game that impacted me and changed how I look at games and what I like about them. Celeste is better, I think, but it should maybe be higher, but that's just me. Then I have Pokemon X and Y, and it could be my favorite Pokemon game ever. Like, I started playing Pokemon pretty late. I think it was around 2015 or 14, somewhere around that, 2014 probably. And it was right before the X and Y launch, at least. I started playing Fire Red, and I kind of fell in love with the game. Like, it still holds up, Fire Red. And I just had a lot of fun because it's kind of easy and it's relaxing. But then, I played the other games after that, like Diamond and Pearl and Black and White. And what I've noticed is that they weren't... They still kind of felt like the Game Boy Advance games. So that wasn't a huge improvement. But then X and Y came, and it was in a 3D engine for the first time. And some parts had like orchestrated music. Everything looked so great in 3D, and even now, Sword and Shield, they don't look that much better than X and Y did at the time, and I really appreciate that about X and Y. And I like the new Pokemon designs. I like the overall map, and I like that there's not that much hand holding compared to like Sun and Moon or Black and White, and there's not that much like tutorial before you're starting. Like, that's a great thing. Like, you get into the game pretty quickly. So then I have Undertale at 16, and Undertale is great. Undertale is it's similar to Earthbound. I had just played Earthbound before it, and I love Earthbound so much. It's like my favorite RPG ever, I think. um, which is also funny because I don't really like RPGs in general, and still Earthbound is a very traditional RPG, I would say, and yet I still loved it a lot. And Undertale has like the same vibe, pretty much. But what I really like is how like spare the enemies, and uh, there's different endings based off that and different dialogue, and you can befriend enemies, and there's like a battle system that's really fun. You have like a shoot 'em up style combat style when you're defending, and then you have to time your attacks when you're attacking, and that's just really fun. I really like that, and it's a short game, which I like with RPGs. I think RPGs drag on too long, but when they're short, that's honestly the best thing for an RPG for me, because RPGs are pretty repetitive and slow. So whenever they're shorter, that's always something I appreciate. At number 15, I have Downwell, and Downwell is a game that I still play to this day. And well, Downwell is a game where you you go like you pretty much go down a well, and you have to like jump on enemies and make combos that way. And with the combos, you earn points or money, and you can like buy upgrades and stuff like that. But it's all temporary because it's a game where if you game over, you or when you die, pretty much you have to start all over. Uh, which is honestly something that I really liked about the first Super Mario Brothers, where there wasn't really a save point. You have to just go back to level one, and I think Downwell doesn't have that many levels. Like it has four worlds and four levels in each world, and you go through a level pretty quickly, and yeah, I think the music is pretty fun in Downwell. The atmosphere is pretty fun, and it's just really addictive because you have to like continue to go to level one again. You have to start over the game every time you die, and that's just really addictive, honestly, and I like that about it. Then I have Fast Racing Neo or Fast Racing RMX, Fast RMX. I think it's pretty much the same game. Fast Racing Neo was on the Wii U and RMX was on the Switch, and it added a lot of content and it improved upon a bunch of things. But what I like about the game is that it's a futuristic racing game, which might be my favorite genre. I love the F-Zero games. Fast Racing Neo isn't really a replacement of that, but it's similar enough, and it's just a fun game. It has great music. The music is amazing, and it's really fast. Like the name is Fast Racing, but yeah, it's really fast, and you have to like collect orbs to boost or switch colors between orange and blue, and go on the right colored boost pads, and I think those are really fun game mechanics, and I like the game a lot. Then at number 13, I have Splatoon. And, well, Splatoon is really, really fun. I played it a lot, the original, and it's addictive gameplay. It's easy to pick up. That's what I like about it the most. And there are ranked modes, but they aren't considered like really, really competitive. A lot of people think that, and they shy away from it, but the regular turf war mode is just turf war. It's just spray the most ink, and I think that's kind of boring. And the ranked mode that it has, well, it has a couple of modes. It they added a lot over the years in Splatoon 2 as well, and it started with just splat zones, which is like a small zone you have to cover with ink, and then you have to capture it for like 100 seconds in total. Whichever team does it first, it wins, and that is part of ranked mode. But I just like split zones, and that's why I play ranked mode. And ranking your character it's not based on seasons or anything. It's just whenever you want to play it, you can just continue ranking where you left off. At first, A plus was the highest rank. You start with like a C minus, and the lowest is like F, I think. But the highest was A plus, so there's an end to it, and that's just fun. It's not like endless seasons. But now there's like an S rank and even an X rank, so you know, uh, it'll keep you busy for a while. But yeah, that's what I like the most about Splatoon. Probably that it's just easy to pick up, and that the ranked mode isn't considered too competitive. Like it's just everybody can play it, and they rank it on your level. So even if you're not that good, you still have fun. You know, you can still level your character in the regular way. So honestly, it's in my opinion not worth playing Turf War over the ranked modes because it's just you miss out on a lot. Then at number 12 I have Overwatch, which is a game that I also really like. I like the characters and I like the totally different gameplay styles every character has. Um, I think Overwatch is kind of I talked about with Splatoon with how the ranked mode is awesome, and with Overwatch you rank so slowly. Like every win is like a couple of points, and you have to get like hundreds or even thousands of points to rank up. That's not the way to do it, in my opinion. That's way too competitive. You have to really seriously play it, and it has seasons, and you have to uh, qualify for those seasons every time. You have to do like a lot of qualification games, and I don't like that. But at the same time, it's kind of with what I said about Splatoon. The regular mode is less fun to play, but in Overwatch, it's not because of exclusive modes. It's because you'll be rewarded less with like loot boxes and money, and you earn less experience points. So it's like, why not just play ranked? But at the same time, it's you don't really gain that much by playing ranked because it's so slow, the ranking, and that's also why I don't really play it that much anymore, which is a shame. But I don't play Splatoon that much either anymore. So and the Overwatch 2 thing is coming soon, so probably gonna play it again because of that. So it's fine. Then at number 11 I have Tomb Raider, and that's the reboot from 2000 2011, I think. It's a long time ago. Wait, I'm gonna look that up. Okay, so it's from 2013, which explains why it's on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, because it was at the end of the generation. Yeah, that explains it. Um, it's a great game. I love the Tomb Raider reboots. I really, really like Lara Croft as a character. She's one of my favorite video game characters, and it's always fun to me whenever you have like a female protagonist, as a lead character, as a playable character, and I like that a lot. And I think compared to a lot of other action games, it's really fun to, instead of always having guns and stuff, to have a bow most of the time. I think that's probably the most fun thing about it, that you have to shoot a bow all the time, and that if you just aim carefully, then you shoot headshots, and nobody even hears that you shot somebody because it's a bow. It's silent, and that I like that a lot about it. And um, story is great. It's really well written, and yeah. So I like it a lot. And the first of the reboot games is my first, and it was my introduction to Tomb Raider as a franchise. So it meant a lot to me, and it's really fun, and I'm really like hooked on the Tomb Raider games. Then at number 10, I have Metroid Other M. I guess a lot of people probably feel that it shouldn't be on this list, especially in my top 10. Like, but I consider it that good. I love Metroid so much, and I love Metroid Other M as well. And you know, something that I like about it is that it's different from other Metroid games, and I think a lot of people can't really get over that. I guess they feel like every Metroid game should be the same. Like, I noticed that a lot of Metroid fans, their favorite ones are always Super Metroid and Metroid Prime, because both are pretty much the same game. Like, Metroid Prime is pretty much a 3D version with a new gameplay gimmick and stuff of Super Metroid. And don't get me wrong, that's like the pinnacle of Metroid. Like, Super Metroid and Metroid Prime, those games are amazing, and those are my two favorites probably. Metroid Prime 1 is probably my favorite, and then Metroid Prime 3, I think. and I think then Super Metroid. Or maybe other M, I guess, because maybe that's third, but probably fourth. Well, I did another video. It's kind of outdated maybe now, but you could check that out about other M. But what I feel is that a lot of arguments are really invalid and kind of ignorant, I think, or at least it's really like unnecessary to like complain about the game just because it's different, and a lot of the things is like that the character Adam, who is the like commander for Samus, and he commands you to do a lot of stuff, but I don't know, they had to implement like some way to get you to like unlock items, like usually you find them somewhere randomly, and this isn't that much different. I'm okay with it. Like, I don't understand why people are so upset about that. Then I get the thing about where, well, Adam makes some dumb decisions, but the game, you're supposed to like dislike him because of how he is. That's always been the thing. Like, the backstory in that game is also about how Samus used to not really respect him in the army, but she still has to because it's her commander or something, and that's, I think that's really fascinating that she like that there's this whole backstory about her being like a female soldier, and Metroid hasn't given that much backstory ever, except for Other M. So Metroid Fusion, but Other M went so much more in depth than Fusion, and I think it's so unfair that people complain about the game so much. And of course, if you don't like it, that's okay. But I feel like I'm in a minority, so that's why I'm kind of like defending it. I'm not attacking anybody personally. If you dislike the game, that's fine. I know that people are still Metroid fans and that they're complaining because of passion, and that's totally fine. Just like respect that other people like the game. That's very possible, and I think for a Wii game, Metroid Other M looks amazing. And the cutscenes, they're CGI cutscenes, which honestly I really like, because then the cutscenes look better than the gameplay even. And there's like so much cutscenes. It's like a whole movie. There's like 4 hours of cutscenes or something. And that's amazing. Or maybe even more. I don't really know off the top of my head, but there's a lot of cutscenes. And I think it really fits Metroid. A lot of people think it doesn't, but not every Metroid, like I said, has to be Metroid Prime or Super Metroid. And like I said, I still prefer those games, but I like a linear story-based Metroid as well. And it reminds me, like I mentioned right before here, the Tomb Raider games. Metroid Other M is so similar to those Tomb Raider games. And it's funny because the Tomb Raider games are pretty similar to Metroid. Like, it has backtracking and stuff like that. And I think Other M does the same. Yeah, it's just similar to like the Tomb Raider games, where you're like, it's very story based and very action based, and that's fine. Why can't Metroid be like that? It doesn't mean that every game is going to be that game. And also the thing is, if people would have been more positive about Other M, which, of course, if you don't like the game, then you don't like the game. I'm not saying that you have to like be positive all the time. Like, I'm not like that at all. So when I don't like something, I'll say it. When it comes to video games and stuff. But I feel like if people were more open to the idea of Metroid being a little different, of like Samus having a personality and like emotions and stuff, and if people weren't so upset about that and just embraced it, then we probably would have had more Metroid games, honestly. But I totally get where people are coming from. So anyway, let's just move on. At number 9, I have Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And I think that Tropical Freeze is probably the best 2D platformer experience there is, in my opinion. Of course, for the NES and the SNES, you had Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario World, which were amazing games. And also you had Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3, which were also great. And I prefer the Donkey Kong Country games, but it's just Tropical Freeze is even better than those games. And it plays amazing, the music is amazing, it looks great, the themes are great, like, you know, and a lot of things are like frozen and tropical, you know, it's Tropical Freeze, so that's why. But there's also like some fall levels, and I love the game so much. It's like I said, it's probably the best 2D platformer experience for me, at least. Then at number 8 I have Snake Pass, and Snake Pass is also by the same composer, David Wise, from who also did Tropical Freeze and the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy. And I think that makes Snake Pass great. Like, there's probably only like 8 songs, but those are really great. They're really like long songs, and they really like fit the environment, and I think they're so catchy and so relaxing, and I love the gameplay so much. It's a 3D platformer, but you're a snake, so you have to like slither instead of walking and jumping. You have to like curl yourself around like logs and try to grab like coins at really difficult spots. And sometimes you fall off because you didn't grab the log well enough. It's pretty difficult, and honestly, it has a learning curve. But there's some tutorials by the developers on YouTube, and if you watch those, then it all makes more sense, you know, and you figure it out more quickly. I did that, and it really helped. So yeah, no, it's a really great game, and yeah, definitely worthy of being in my top 10, I think. Then Metroid Samus Returns at number 7. It's hypocritical, I know, because I said that Link's Awakening and Ocarina of Time were remakes, you know, and it's just that I'm such a big Metroid fan, and I've waited so long for a new Metroid. Like, I just had to put it in here. I said that before, by the way, that like Metroid Other M might be in my top 4, but it's top 5 probably, because yeah, Samus Returns is higher, and I like it more than Other M. Not by much though, which is why I forgot about the order. But yeah, Samus Returns, it doesn't feel like Metroid 2 at all. It feels like a totally different game, and that's not something that I can say about Ocarina of Time and Link's Awakening, so it's an exception, you know. I think the music is great, the environment, the 3D effect is amazing. It probably has the best 3D effect of any 3DS game. It's a beautiful game, and I appreciate that it was on the 3DS, honestly. I would have wanted it on the Switch, I would have liked it, but the 3D effects is just amazing, and I wouldn't have played it anywhere else. It plays amazing, the melee counter is amazing, and the developers, Mercury's team, they did a hell of a job, and that's why it's at number 7. Then I have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 6. And oh yeah, it's low. It's pretty low for like the type of game it is. It should be so much higher. I know, but I'm not the biggest fan of open world games. I have not really liked any other, like, okay, sandbox open world games is what I mean. Like games where there are no directions, where you can go everywhere. I generally don't really like that. And Breath of the Wild is the exception of that. I mean, I kind of like the shrines. Like, sometimes you just stumble upon a shrine, but sometimes they're too hidden, and I dislike that. You know, it was fun to, like, stumble upon the shrines. The DLC also really fixed it for me. Like, they added, like, a lot of great shrines, which are much more in-depth. And I think the Divine Beasts aren't that much fun compared to dungeons, and expected more story, but because it's so open, that was kind of hard to do. So I really hope the sequel is more up my alley. I hope they maybe change shrines into dungeons. Maybe they're like, let's say like that's a lot, but let's say like 15 dungeons that you can all warp to. I think that would be perfect, honestly, because you don't need a warping spot everywhere. Like, maybe you could just warp to cities and villages and the dungeons, and then like 10 to 15 dungeons is enough, honestly, I think. You know, I just really miss dungeons. Like, that's the thing. they don't need to make Breath of the Wild again. It's the same engine. It's part of the same world, I think. So I think the next step and the right next step is to just change the shrines into dungeons. And for people who prefer Breath of the Wild, that game is still there. Which is why I think they need to like spice it up a little bit, like switch it up. Then at number 5, I have Super Mario 3D World. And yeah, I like 3D platformers a lot. That's kind of obvious by now, I think. It was pretty fun to play with friends, but it's more fun to play by yourself. I like that there are multiple characters that all have different play styles. I like that a lot. Like Toad is quicker, Luigi jumps higher, Peach can float. That's really fun. I think, of course, the first couple of worlds are pretty easy, but they're really like fun, themed levels. They're all the other levels are fun and colorful and happy. And then you get to the later levels, and they're pretty challenging. Like sometimes you die a lot, and then later at the end you have to like collect every hidden green star, and then you unlock more levels, and it's all in like a fun way. It's really fun to 100% complete this game. And then you unlock like a lot of challenging levels because of that. Like the final level, Champions Road, that's a really challenging level. Then at number 4, I have A Hat in Time. And like I said, I like 3D platformers. Hat in Time, to me, it reminds me of Super Mario Sunshine, where you have like big levels that change after you complete a level, Like they have big worlds, and they change after you complete a level in that world. So there's like a lot of variety within the worlds, and I think the gameplay is really fun. The vibe is really fun. The abilities are really fun, and the music is really fun. And I like that they collabed with like a lot of YouTubers who cover video game music or remix it, and they collaborated with them a lot, and that's really fun. I recognize a lot of YouTubers, and that's seriously really fun about it. And the levels are great. Every world has like a different theme. At number 3, I have Super Mario Galaxy 2. And okay, well, I prefer the original Super Mario Galaxy. I like the hub world in the first one. The ideas are more fresh. It's more like space themed. I like the story around Rosalina. Rosalina is probably my favorite Mario character because of how her backstory was in Super Mario Galaxy. Like, she has the most in-depth backstory of any Mario character, I feel like. I think she's really like an in-depth character, and that's what makes Mario Galaxy fun, but also the space themes and the anti-gravity and stuff. And a lot of that is still there in Super Mario Galaxy 2, and I think the level design is much better in Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's much more streamlined as well. Every world has less stars to collect, but that means that there's more worlds. I think that's really impressive. Super Mario Galaxy 2 has like a lot more content, and Galaxy 1 and 2, they're just equal. Let's just put it like that. It's pretty much, you can see it as one big game. So, but yeah, I just love both games so much. They're so amazing. Probably my favorite 3D Mario game is Sunshine, and then probably Galaxy. The first or the second, I don't mind. I don't care. And probably then Mario 64. Which also, yeah, Super Mario Odyssey is not even on this list. I don't like it that much. I mean, I like Mario Odyssey. It doesn't really come close to 64, Sunshine, or Galaxy to me. Or 3D World even, because I really like that one as well. Then at number 2, I have Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, and also Ultimate. I think Ultimate is similar enough to have it there, and both Wii U and 3DS and Ultimate do things that the other doesn't. I think like Ultimate has every character ever, and it has more stages and content, but on the other hand, Ultimate has a lot of characters and stages from Smash for Wii U and 3DS, and the engine looks and plays pretty similar. Like, they improved for sure. Like, the game plays a lot better, faster, quicker, and snappier, and yeah, more content for sure. But Smash for Wii U and 3DS had a lot more fun modes. Like, the classic mode was more fun, and Smash Run was pretty fun. I liked Smash Tour. A lot of small things like uh, trophy rush and things like that. So that's why I think all three games are pretty equal. So Smash Bros is great. It's one of my favorite franchises, and I like playing Smash with friends and online. And I played both games just for hundreds of hours, and Smash is just great. Everybody knows Smash Bros, and it's so much fun. Number one is Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. I don't really know if that's like a popular opinion to have it like this high on a list. I think it is an unpopular opinion. I see so many mixed reactions about Skyward Sword. Some people love it and some people really dislike it. It's never like in between. Okay, well, some people have they just think it's okay. But like you see so many people talk about how it's either really bad or really good. And well, I think it's really good. It's my favorite Zelda game. It's in my top 5 games ever, probably. It just as much as Ocarina of Time 3D introduced me to Zelda, because it was a new game. And I love the motion controls. I think it's... I mean, I get it. I mean, if you don't like motion controls, that's fine. But it's just, it worked for me. And I had so much fun puzzling with that. And the combat was so much fun with that. And honestly, when they announced that there was a Zelda for Wii U, which turned out to be Breath of the Wild, of course, I was really like, how are they going to implement motion controls? I was like, okay, well, I guess they could use the Wii remote, but they have that gamepad, so I think motion controls are done with. And then they confirmed later that motion controls are not coming to the Zelda for Wii U game, and I was so disappointed by it. And now with Breath of the Wild, it feels normal again to not have motion controls. But there was a time when I didn't know how a Zelda game could exist without it. It felt like so much part of how Zelda games were going to be. And Skyward Sword has by far the best story in a Zelda game. Maybe the best story in a Nintendo game in general. Like, it has an emotional story. It has like humor. The characters are amazing. I love the paintbrush style, art style. I love that so much. The side quests are fun. It's really fun to 100% complete this game because the side quests are really fun and really doable. Like, if your character wants something from you, or you are able to do something with them, they always have like a speech bubble around their head. So you know that there's something up, and that's really fun. I appreciate that. Yeah, the side quests are really fun. You have to do like some crazy stuff, and the dungeons are great. But what I probably like the most about Skyward Sword is that like you could say that it has a small overworld, and that's very true. It's just you're just flying through clouds, and then you have Skyloft, and that's pretty much it. But you have 3 big worlds that you go to, and those feel like overworlds. Honestly, those feel like big chunks of the world divided into 3. And they also kind of feel like dungeons in themselves. You have to like puzzle in those levels, and it kind of, you could say that it's a step towards like Breath of the Wild, because it had like big chunks of worlds where you could puzzle through, but it wasn't open ended. It was just you had to go through things by puzzling and stuff. I still like that a lot. Look, the thing with Skyward Sword, with the chunks of overworld, it reminds me of Metroid so much, of Metroid Prime in particular, because there's so much backtracking and puzzling within the world, and that's what I like about Metroid so much. Metroid has like either one huge world or big chunks of worlds. Like Metroid Prime 3 had that. They had like big chunks of worlds. And all those pieces, or the whole world in general, it all feels like one big dungeon. And that's the thing. The worlds in Skyward Sword, they acted like dungeons, even though you weren't in a dungeon. So like the way to get to a dungeon is already kind of like a dungeon. And I think that's so amazing. That I love that so much. I wish other Zelda games had that as well, where really the way to go to a dungeon is a dungeon in itself. The music is great. It's orchestrated, and it has beautiful and emotional music. And like, come on, if you really like Zelda games and you haven't played Skyward Sword, or you quit halfway through or so, come on, give it a chance. Like, it deserves it so much. I can't say it enough. Like Skyward Sword is so amazing, and I think I've finished it like 5 times. It's that good to me, and I just get so happy when I play it. Not very many things make me as happy as Skyward Sword. The game gives me in such a good mood, but then there's also really emotional parts in it. It's just it gives you so many emotions, so many good emotions. And the bosses are amazing with the motion controls. The dungeons are really big and long, and like you can't honestly. I know that's like it's not an objective thing to say, but I just feel like if you don't like Skyward Sword, or if you don't bother to play Skyward Sword, can you really call yourself a Zelda fan? That's what I feel like, and I know everybody has a right to dislike a game. And listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Wind Waker or Majora's Mask. I still like them though. I have played them through, and I like them. But I get it. If you don't like Skyward Sword, that's totally okay. I think though it's worth a chance. And if you're someone who just doesn't want to play the game purely because it has motion controls, like why? What how is that an argument? What, like, that just sounds so stupid. Come on, man. Like, really? Like, did you miss out on like the entire Wii generation then? Did you miss out on Mario Galaxy? How could you miss out on Mario Galaxy? That because it has motion controls? Stop. Come on. Just stop. That's so silly. And I think honestly, because people are like that, I hope they remake the game for the Switch and maybe implement some like button controls. Regular button controls are not possible with Skyward Sword because you have like a diagonal movement with your sword and stuff. But something I've been thinking about is how it doesn't really have a 3D camera movement because the Wii doesn't have a right stick. And I think a good replacement for motion controls could be that you just move your sword by using the right control stick, and like how you flick it like horizontally and sideways, and I think that's a pretty good replacement. I think if they got that to work, that would be amazing. I would play it like that. I wouldn't mind. I hope there's an option for motion controls though, but at the same time, a lot of people think that the Joy-Con have better motion controls than the Wii motion controls, but they really don't. Like, I don't know, the Joy-Con are pretty bad controllers, man. Like the control sticks drift, the motion drifts, and there's also not a pointer on it for calibration. So the technology in it is a lot worse. So I think honestly, if they remake Skyward Sword, they're gonna have to do the right stick for sword movement, like I said before. I'm willing to try the motion control still though, if they implement that. But yeah, play Skyward Sword. It's that simple. Play Skyward Sword. If you love Zelda, play Skyward Sword. Why not? Come on. Uh, like, listen. Breath of the Wild did a lot of things that I didn't like. Like, I don't like open world stuff. I don't like that I can just like have to do a puzzle, and I like backtracking, and there's no backtracking in Breath of the Wild. It's all open. It doesn't feel like a Zelda game to me, and I still tried it, and I got over it and I liked it. Not to say that like I'm not pretending to like it. I really like Breath of the Wild, but it is because I stuck with it. And I think if you like Zelda that much, you have to stick with other Zelda games. 3D Zelda games, all of them are good, even if it has something that you don't like. And also, like, you can't really waggle your Wii remote. You have to really, like, the motion controls are pretty good in Skyward Sword. I think people underestimate it. I think that might be it as well. Like, if you swing it like sideways, if you really try to do that, then it really does that. And if you like half-ass it, then it doesn't really register. That's the thing. You have to really do what it asks of you, and well, yeah. But anyway, the motion controls aren't really even a big part of it. Like the dungeon design and the story is what makes it amazing. and the level design within each world. So it's so worth it to play it. It's my favorite Zelda game. It's somewhere in the top 5 games ever. Let's okay, wait. Okay, so F-Zero GX is my favorite game ever. Then I think Super Mario Sunshine is probably the second, which is also an underrated game, by the way. F-Zero GX my favorite, then Super Mario Sunshine probably. I think then Skyward Sword at 3. That's how highly I think of it. Yeah. So in conclusion, play Skyward Sword. Unless you don't like Zelda, then please don't play it. Or maybe still play it, but I guess only if you really want to try Zelda games. I think it's a great one to enter the Zelda franchise with. I guess Breath of the Wild is a pretty great one as well. Like a lot of people say Wind Waker is a great one for entering the Zelda franchise because it's easier, they say, but I got stuck in Wind Waker a lot. Like at the beginning and during it, when you have to like find some island to progress and I can't find it and nobody's really giving efficient tips. Wind Waker is not an easy game. Yeah, I mean the dungeons are easy, the combat is easy, sure, but getting stuck in a game is not fun for a beginner. It's not fun for if you're a veteran Zelda fan. But for a beginner especially, I think if you recommend Wind Waker as the first one, a lot of people would give up because they just get stuck sometimes. And sure, in Skyward Sword you get stuck sometimes, but overall there's some hint system in the game that you can access if you really want to. Some characters in the game give you hints when you talk to them, which you also don't have to do. And I think the game is just easier to navigate, and it doesn't have like a huge open world like Wind Waker that's sometimes still limited. I think Skyward Sword has the right balance between openness and linearity to the point that you're not stuck that often. I think that's what it is. So honestly, if you haven't played Zelda, I guess really start with Skyward Sword or Breath of the Wild, depending on which kind of game you prefer. So yeah, that's it. I've recorded this for like an hour. I drifted off so much. Play Skyward Sword.